Our next presenter is Sarah Nolan from Auckland Council. Sarah is a Senior Healthy Water Specialist for the Healthy Waters Department in Auckland Council. She has a dairy farming background, and since being with Healthy Waters, she has another passion which is developed through creating partnerships with iwi, learning more about the Te Ao Māori and how we can operationalise Te Mana o Te Wai, which is an exciting place to be, she says. So Sarah is going to present to us on Hōteo sediment reduction project and aligning of geomorphology and mātauranga Māori. Sarah, nice to.
Morena koutou, ko Sarah Nolan tuku ingoa. So just guess a heads up, I thought I had 20 minutes, so I'm going to be going through this as quickly as possible in my 10-minute slot. So yeah, here to talk about the Hōteo project. It's a 5-year project co-funded with MFE. We're halfway through our final year, so it's been, well, pretty much my entire career has been this project, so I'm pretty excited to talk to you about it. So we'll just be going over the kaupapa of the Hōteo project, geomorphology, very, very briefly, because I know you guys are pretty technical. Hopefully I won't need to go over that too much. And then what I actually really want to talk about, which is how Te Ao Māori and geomorphology are aligned, which has been a learning we've taken from this project. So first I just want to acknowledge the project steering group. So we are partners in this project. We've got the two hapu and iwi that we work with, Te Uriaho, Nomanga Whakahi and Ngāti Manuhiri, as well as we've got industry partners. And yeah, CRIs, so shout out to them. So our key deliverables, we're looking at, there was quite a bit of work on the Hōteo River system back in 2014 with Cardno US and Auckland Council, and we identified that there are quite strong hotspots of erosion, stream bank erosion happening. So we kind of throughout the years have narrowed that down to a tributary called the Kotawhiro stream, where we found that the tributary actually contributes as much fine-grained sediment erosion as the main stem, so it's definitely a hotspot. So the project itself is going along that tributary and finding out where those hotspots are and trialling different mitigations to reduce that erosion, aside from just fencing and planting, which we already do a lot of. And so we're doing that with our partners, and it's kind of the first of its kind in New Zealand, so we're using it as a pilot to hopefully spread far and wide. So these are the 3 hotspots that we found. We found 21 in total along the 12-kilometre reach. We narrowed those down with our mana whenua partners and our community with quite a cool way. We gave everyone stickers that they could vote for their favourite sites, and then the ones with the most votes were the 3 that we chose. So I guess the big thing that we're trying to do in this project is not just do, the worst erosion, but we want to show a range of different mitigations. So what's actually replicable, what's applicable, what's going to have consents that's going to just derail it all? What can farmers do themselves? So through the project, it's all on private land, so we've got 33 landowners, 32 of them were on board with the project, which was pretty awesome. We had one who had a bad experience with council, so can't blame them. And through the project, we've fenced, of the 12 kilometres, we've fenced half of it. Some was already fenced, have done a whole bunch of planting, and we were quite lucky we could do quite a high ratio of funding, so we could fund 75%, which is more, I guess, than the normal 50-50, so that got quite a few people across the line. And that's because we're going on their land, we're doing a lot of science, we're asking quite a lot from them, so we felt we could give back by funding a bit more. So that's the Hōteo project really quickly. The GEMS that we're trialling, so geomorphically effective management solutions, GEMS, it's a mouthful. So yeah, they're basically a toolbox of mitigations of what else we can do to reduce stream bank erosion. So I guess just a fun fact, I know we've got a lot of land managers here that do a lot of hill country erosion, which is definitely important. In the Hōteo River system of specific yield, we found 72% of it was sourced from the stream banks themselves, which kind of does make sense when you have a big bank failure that all goes into the waterway, whereas land-based, it has to travel down, the overland flows into the waterway. Andrew Hughes from NIWA has since done another study and found 90-something%. So regardless of how accurate those numbers are, there's a lot of sediment coming from our banks. So very high geomorphology 101. Erosion is a balance of driving forces and resisting forces, so forces that cause erosion, so if we're getting a crap ton more water in our streams with all the development in Auckland, all the impervious surfaces, so it's the force of the water against the strength of the bank. So when the driving forces are more than the resisting forces, that's when you're getting erosion, and that's what we have a lot of. So GEMS, we're working with the waterway, so it's taking a much more holistic approach. It's not that, whole lot of concrete and just channelizing the streams. We actually want to say, okay, erosion's a natural process, the waterway is doing this naturally, how can we work with that to better, reduce the erosion, knowing that some still will happen, but how can we reduce the rate that it's happening? And it is addressing, like I said, those imbalances between the driving forces and resisting forces. So really quickly, just some examples of GEMS. Bank battering, so this was a project I did out in Araremu, which is South Auckland, and we had an almost 90-degree bank, so very simple. Like, we do this already, but it's more the framework of thinking that goes into it. What was the best for the landowners, what was going to, not take too much of their productive land, and so we battered it bank and did a whole lot of specific native riparian planting, which, shout out to Te Paiaka, which is another project, which we are looking at the root tensile strength, that informed. Another one is toe protection. This is one of my favourites. I think it's pretty cool. So it's, the toe of the bank is the most vulnerable part. It's the part that undercutting happens, and once you get an undercut so big, the bank's just going to go. So if you can protect that toe, you can solve a lot of your erosion issues. So you can do that with rock toe, or what I think is pretty cool and what we're trialling in the Hōteo is using some of our fallen trees that are already in the stream. There's a very engineering specific way that you can actually key those into the bank to ensure that that toe is protected. And mana whenua, our partners, are really keen on that too, because it's kind of recycling in a way. I guess I just want to say fencing and planting are also GEMS, so they're also on the toolbox, and quite often they're done with other things. So I'm definitely not saying fencing and planting isn't important, and it's kind of the basis behind a lot of our jobs. So, but yeah, so what I actually really want to talk about, and I have no idea how long I've been talking, but is Te Ao Māori and geomorphology. So I want to say, and I want to make this really clear, that I'm speaking on behalf of the hapu and iwi that I've worked with, and I'm talking about their mātauranga Māori that they've gifted me, that knowledge. So it's going to be very different with each iwi, hapu, whānau, marae that you work with, and I guess that's the cool part, is that we get to find out what those differences are. But this is based on their knowledge, so I just want to make that really clear. So, like I was saying before, geomorphology is the mix of driving forces versus resisting forces. In Te Ao Māori, the Māori worldview, they look at it very similarly. So I was gifted this translation, I think it's pretty awesome. So, te anga mai o tāwhirimatia me tangaroa, me tawhana o tāne mahuta. So the driving forces of Tāwhirimatia, who's the god of the weather, the wind, and Tangaroa, the god of the ocean, versus the resilience of Tāne Mahuta. So yeah, I thought that's pretty awesome. So yeah, the Māori worldview, it's got a natural order and balance. Everything's interconnected. It's seen as one. It's not, helpful. It's not different. It's not all different parts that are, working in isolation. It's something that is all. It's all one being. And kaitiakitanga in principle is about restoring that balance. Similarly, erosion is the same. So if we've got an unbalanced system, we're getting erosion. So we need a really holistic approach to kind of understand where that unbalance is, where we're having the issues within the whole system, and what we can do to fix that. So, mātauranga Māori, it is the current, historical, traditional, future knowledge of mana whenua, of our partners. GEMS are a toolbox of mitigations, and for me, it's really logical and it makes so much sense. If you're wanting to restore, an area, why would you not want to know more about the history of that, what it used to be, everything you can about that area to make sure you're having that complete holistic overview of how you can then best, improve that situation. And the only way we can really do that is to work with our partners. And so having their mātauranga Māori and incorporating them into our design has been awesome because it's made it a lot more robust, and I feel a lot more, confident that the design is actually going to, do what we want it to do. And so this kind of fits into the overall kaupapa of Te Mana o Te Wai, which is a very big, scary thing that everyone in this room absolutely has to do. And I would challenge you to think maybe more about how you can actually operationalise your work to do it. It might already. So, hierarchy of obligations, the health of the waterway is first, which is great. And it's also, we have to partner with our partners. So having situations where, you can actually see Te Mana o Te Wai being operationalised, which I'm proud, and maybe somewhat arrogant to say. I think that this is an opportunity where there is an example, and the Kaipara Moana remediation, who are next, I think is also another great one. It's quite important, so cool. And relationships, people talk about partnerships, but I don't believe you can have a partnership without relationships. So the best thing about this project by far has been all the relationships that we've developed, and these guys, they're definitely friends now. We just have regular catch-ups. It's been awesome. So just really quickly, we'll go through some of the ways that we have worked with our partners through the project. So we've had, at the very start, we had a mana enhancing agreement, but full transparency, that was done in year 2. That should have been done in year 1. It should have been the first thing we did. It's a learning that we can now take to the next one. So the gem sites identified, like I said, with our partners. Iwi work plan developed by Manaaki Whenua, who have been amazing to work with on this project for the last 4.5 years. The cultural monitoring framework, which we're currently right into, is how I spend most of my days, is working on the cultural monitoring framework developed by Manaaki Whenua again. Upskilling of kaitiaki and gems monitoring, so they've been paid to do all the monitoring of the project, and they will be doing that for the next 10 years at least. And similarly, they will be funded to do the cultural monitoring next to the gems. So working together, but also, got their own part. I'm trying to go real fast, sorry. They've been paid to do the planting and maintenance, and all our paid works have been offered to our partners first, which has been awesome. So iwi nurseries are our main supplier. Relationships have been wonderful, and that's not just with council, but also with landowners, and we've got regular hui all the time. So yeah, like I said, it's very much our iwi partners that have given this knowledge, and it's them that needs to be celebrated, but I think, it's quite a cool opportunity to delve into kind of this more aligned space, and I'll challenge all of you to have a look at what you can do in your own jobs. Kia ora.
Well, that was extremely well done. I think I heard Sarah say that it was a 20-minute presentation, so is that right? Yeah, well done. Amazing. So if you absorbed it at ultra speed, that just shows you what can be done at a conference. So maybe we can squeeze more in. Gems, I think the message to take away there is a holistic approach and how valuable that is. And a very key statement to me was about how relationships can be partnerships are far more than that. They're relationships to make them work.